Hello everybody, welcome to the part 3 of my tutorial on making a Hacker News-like site in Django. My name is Arun Ravindran and my website is called arunrocks.com. We have quite an interesting episode this time in which we add a lot of social network related features. The important ones being pagination. We'll also talk about how to create, read, update, delete, basically what's shortened as a CRUD operations on objects. We'll also talk about how to include comments using the built-in Django comments application. So before we get started, let's re-download the goodies pack. So as you remember from our last episode, we had something called the goodies pack, which is actually a URL containing a zip file containing a lot of templates and other interesting assets. So let's re-download that just to be sure that you have copied it. Unzip it, and there we have it. So with that covered, let's go ahead and tackle pagination. Now, if you remember from our earlier episodes, we are actually using a built-in view called list view, in which we have actually used an option called paginate by. Django comes with a lot of built-in functionality for each of these views, which are called generic views, and one of that is that it gives you a pagination object for free. Now I was amazed by this functionality actually, because with very little code you can actually have a complete list of objects paginated page by page. Let's see how this is done. Now all we're trying to do is implement a very simple next link to visit the next page. So let's open a template which is actually the linked list template, which is located inside Steel Rumors, Templates, Links, and link underscore list. Now as we go here, just before the end block, we'll have to add a couple of lines. So this is a standard template that I'm just going to paste here. It says if this page is paginated, which will usually be the case if we have enabled that option in linked list, in list view, add a couple of HTML tags which has the class pagination, and if it has a next page, it won't if it's the last page. Just add a link. So this is a very simple more link which shows the next page. We are not going to do anything fancy. We are not going to say page numbers 1, last page, or previous page. In fact, we can do all that. Django supports all that, but we are not going to do that, keeping in view that we are going to make something very simple like Hacker News, and Hacker News actually does this with just a more link. So once we do that, let's go to our browser and see how it has changed. So as you can see, we have a more link now. As we click more, we can go to next set of links, and since this is the second page and there are no more pages, there's no more link, but we can go back using the back button. One odd thing you would notice is that the numbering has not changed even the second page. I would expect after 1 to 5 the next page should start from 6. Fortunately, this is a very simple change. You just have to change the numbering to start from that appropriate number. Again, it's a template change. We just copy paste a couple of lines here, which says that if it is paginated, just start numbering from the start index, page object dot start index. So already we have the page object passed in by the by the list view, and let's save this and let's refresh this page. Wow. So now we have 6 to 7 appearing and it looks much better. So we have 1 to 5, and when you click on the next link, we have 6 to 10. So now you can visit, if you add more links, you can visit more pages. Let's log in, and just for the sake of an example, let's add one more link, call it test link. And now we have a third page which has a test link. So as you must have noticed by now, adding a new link requires you to go through the admin. Now this is good for starters when you actually begin the site, but as you go on, users would actually complain, especially if they are not staff members who cannot access the admin site, that they need to add links or update links. So this is where the four basic operations of dealing with a database, which we call as CRUD, comes into picture. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. And as I mentioned before in the screencast, I consider it to be a very important skill for most web developers. Now, why is this important? Because if you look at it in a very simplistic way, everything you do in a web application, when you tweet on Twitter, it's actually creating a Twitter object inside the Twitter database. When you read on the Facebook timeline, you're actually going through or reading a couple of timeline objects. Or if you're editing a form on even your Gmail or something like that, you're actually editing some objects. So everything that you do on a web application can be simplistically considered as CRUD operations because they deal with a database, a fancy way of doing CRUD operations on a database. So since we already have R, which is read part of this thing, which is finding the detail, let's go and see how create operation is done. So to create a link, we expect some kind of a form to appear to submit the link details. So let's first implement that. Let's go to links forms, which we have already created inside the links application. So over here, we actually need to import one more model called link that we haven't used so far. So we create a new class, a model class actually, called link form. And just add a meta class as before to say that we are using the model called link. In this case, I'll just quickly show you models. Link has a lot of information that you don't want others to see. So we'll actually use a limited option in which we exclude some of the things that we don't want people to see, especially submitter, because we already know who the submitter is. It is the request.user. And we also exclude score because we want ourselves to compute that. So let's exclude those fields that we don't want to appear on the form. Submitter and rank score. Once we have done that, we had to go to the views to actually create the create view. So this is one of the generic views in Django. We import that from Django views.generic.edit. It's called create view. And also, before we forget, we have to import the form, which is called link form. Let's go ahead and create the create view. We call it link create view and import it from create view. Let's mention the model, which is link, and the form class, which is link form. An important part of defining a create view is to save all the fields which are excluded, because in this case some of the excluded fields are mandatory. So we are going to override a function called form valid, which has this signature, which passes the form before it actually gets saved into the database. So let's get the form object by calling form save, and let's say don't commit to the database by saying commit equals false. Let's give a value for the rank score. For the time being, it could be 0.0. And let's mention that the submitter is the self.request.user, so that nobody else can submit on your behalf, and just save it. We also need to remember to invoke the super class, the parent class. So call super link create view self and form valid. Now we have created the view. We'll just copy the form, which is the template, from the goodies pack. So let's do a simple copy command for this to our project directory, project steel rumors templates links. So we also need to mention that it's in the links directory. Now we have the view, we have the template. We also need to mention this view in the urls.py as usual. So here we'll just add it at the very end. URL. We can use any URL we like, but I'm going to use link/create. It's easy to remember. And make sure that it is an authenticated one, because we are going to use self.request.user link create view .as view for class objects. We forgot to import this, so we just import from links.views, import link create view, and we have to name the URL, which is a good practice. We'll call it link_create. We save it. Now when we go back to the browser, to that particular URL link create, this error is probably because we did not name it properly. Let's fix that. Yeah. So now we have a form which is beautifully rendered and has all the information that's required for creating a link. So we'll call this again a test. We'll just call it headline test. Simple URL like example.com and some description. We add it. So we get an error message at this point in time which says that we don't have a URL to redirect to, and Django provides a solution as well, that you have to provide a URL, or you have to define a function which says what is the absolute URL for the newly created object. Now every object can define, or every class in a model for Django can create an absolute URL, and by default once you create that model, this particular generic view redirects you to that location. So we are going to take the second solution. We are going to actually create an absolute URL. The way we do that is we go to the models file, and in the link object we add a new function called, of course, it's called get absolute URL. And we are going to pass self. That's all. And we had to return a reverse lookup here. So I'm going to import reverse in a minute. going to use the link detail named URL, which is actually a list view. Which is actually detail view, again from our previous episode. Keyword arguments. Primary key is the only keyword argument needed here, but it's actually a string, even though self.id might be an integer. So we'll just take care of that. And just remember to import reverse from Django.url .core.url resolvers. So the next thing we need to implement is this link detail, and this is nothing other than the R of the CRUD operations, that is the read part of the CRUD operations. So we are reading the details of a link object. This again is a link detail. That we are going to create. So as you can see, we have already imported the detail view. Just make it a little more clear here. And we are going to create an object, class called link detail view, derived from detail view, and just mention the name of the model, which is link, and we are done from a view standpoint. From a template standpoint, we have to again go back to the goodies pack, go to the detail, link detail .html, just copy it, and finally we need to open to the URL, go to the urls.py. Similar URL resolver need to be created. It starts with link, but we use the notation for passing on the primary key here. So we use $P and pass the primary key, and we follow it by we mention it as a number of digits, as the primary key is made up of an integer. Here we are not going to use authentication because anybody should be able to see the details of link without authentication. We're going to use list detail view. Just checking if we have imported it. So we are going to import that. List detail view. And we're going to call it link underscore detail, as we have in the get URL. Get absolute URL. So with these changes, I expect the improper creation to work this time. So we go back, we submit another link called headline test 2 and add it. Good. So now we have a way to see the link detail. So for our convenience, we can go back and change all these links. Right now all these links take you to the actual URL which is mentioned in the object. We don't have to do that. We can actually take them to the link detail, and in the next subsequent part I can actually show you how to add comments for that particular link so that we can have some kind of a discussion around that particular link. So to do that, we need to make a couple of changes. We also have to make changes to ensure that submitting a link and editing a link and all are obvious. So let's go to the template editing part. For that, let's open base.html for the footer. Go to templates, base.html, and just before logging out. So this is the part where the person is authenticated and is actually inside the home page or in any page. We say URL should be link create, and you should be able to submit a link. So we'll save that. We need to make one more change in the list detail. So let me take you to the template which says links, list link detail. So we haven't seen this because we just copied it from the goodies pack. You'll notice that we are using a name called object, which is the default name for the object which is passed in the detail view. You can change this. I just didn't want to change the defaults, so it'll pass the link object, and other details like the title are all attributes of the object. You can also see who submitted it, because the submitter is also a field of that model. We'll add one more option here just to see the link. Okay, actually we should change the link list option, because that's where the link which takes you to that detail page should be. Currently, as you can see, it takes you to the link.url. I'm going to change this to the link detail. So how do I do that? I just delete this and replace it with a reverse lookup to that link detail page for that particular primary key. So as you know, we are going through the object list, and for each link, the link object is stored and the link has a primary key. So let's see how this is reflected in our website. If you notice, you can see this footer. If you can see the footer, you can see that link / primary key shown. Click on each link, you'll be actually now taken to the detail of that link page. And just to be sure, we should be if you click on that object, we should be taken to that link which that object has. So everything looks perfect from C and R of CRUD, which is create and read. The next two things we're going to take are the remaining update and the delete views. They're pretty straightforward. Since we are done so far, we'll do them together. We'll go to the views. We'll actually add them by first importing them. We'll use update view and delete view. So this is for updating and deleting an existing link object. We go all the way down, class link update view, which is derived from update view, and we can simply copy the model and the form class. Similarly, we can create delete view, link delete view, spelling it properly, and same way we can copy the model. In this case, we don't need a form to delete it. We need a success URL. For the success URL, which takes you once you have successfully deleted, you have to mention that. And here we're going to do a reverse lookup, but we are not going to get the urls.py loaded by the time we have views.py. So I'm going to use something called reverse lazy. I think we have used this before. And we are just going to make sure that we have imported reverse lazy as well. So I'm going to do that here. Django core resolvers reverse lazy. So something wrong here. It's update view, and it says unused update view. We have used it before. Okay. So that was a duplicate line. Of course, we have to copy the appropriate links from the goodies pack. Now we don't need to copy the link form again, because that's what's used for the update. You have to copy the delete form. So we have something called link_delete. It's actually called confirm delete. So we have taken care of that, and now we have to take care of the URLs. once again we are importing the URLs. Here it should be called link update view and delete view. Sorry. For the URLs, I'm going to use same authenticated URLs because in this case we are going to update a view, so it needs to be the same user who created it. So we're going to use update view, and same way for delete, we're going to use authenticated link delete view. So with that taken care of, we are just going to add some convenience lines in the detail page, which is nothing but a check for the user. If that particular user is if the submitter of that particular object is the same as the user who is currently logged in, it's going to be a if condition. We are going to give you the option to edit and delete, which are simply reverse lookups to that particular view. And then we are going to say end if. So that's pretty simple, and I think this one was created by admin. So we have an error which says that link update is not found. Of course, we haven't used the correct URL here because we need to pass the update URL here. So instead of create, we're going to say update, and we're going to use the same primary key regular expression here. So that should terminate with a slash. We're going to use the same thing for deletion as well. It says delete. So hopefully this should work. Okay, so now we see that since it was admin who created this particular object, we have an option to edit it. So we can write whatever we like. We also have an option to delete it, where we actually are taken to the confirm delete template. That's why we need a template for deleting, which asks for the confirmation to delete it, and once you confirm it, taken to the success URL. So in this case, I'm not going to delete anything, but I'm just going to confirm that there's an edit delete button everywhere. So great. So we have completed doing create, read, update and delete of link objects. So now we move on to one final thing, which is enabling comments, which is quite easy because it is built into Django. Let's go to settings. Inside settings we have django.contrib.admin, so we add comments in the same way. Because we just added an application, we just go back to our project and we run manage syncdb. So it creates the Django comments the tables. We go back to temp and we probably need to copy link details page again from goodies. So this is the other link details page. There are two of them. We just need link detail 2. Please keep a note of that. And when you copy it to your destination, make sure that it's going to overwrite link_detail.html. So from the goodies pack, select link_detail2.html and write it to link_detail.html. The reason I'm not going through that is link detail is actually a. So I'll just quickly show you what it is. Link detail. You can see that there is a new section div called comments, and this is completely new. There is a new form. It actually checks for authenticated users. It checks for the form. It checks for a lot of security features like the CRSF, the cross-site reference token, the comment, the honeypot, and other security features which Django considers important, which is actually important from preventing clickjacking or other hacking or spoofing kind of measures which people use for a lot of spam which comes in through comments. So this is fairly template. This is a fairly templated stuff. We don't really need to worry much about it because it's already there in the goodies pack. One more change I'd like to do is to mention the comment count for the home page. So somewhere over here, just after the name of the link, I'd like the comment count. So for that, I'm just going to the link list page, which actually shows the home page. And here I'm going to load, first I need to load the templates for comments. So for that, I'm using load comments. And I'll quickly go to the title. Just after the title, I need to mention that I need to store the comment count somewhere. So in this case, I'm going to say get comment count for link and store it as comment count. And I'm going to, this actually doesn't output anything. Now I'm going to output it as comment count, and I'm going to pluralize it based on whether the comment count is more than 1. If it's 1, it just shows comment, and if it's more than 1, it shows an S which says, say, 2 comments. Let's see if that works. So it's actually called comments without tags, without quotes. Okay, so now we don't have any comments, but since we are logged in, let's try adding comments. Yeah, so we need to add a URL which actually takes you to the target for the comments. So for this, we'll quickly add the comments URL. So this is quite similar to what we did for admin. Just copy that. Say comments and include. In this case, it's inside quotes. Django.contrib.comments.urls. So let's see if that works. Yeah. So now we have a nice comments form, and we can add comment 1, comment 2, comment 3. So as you notice, it just keeps growing, and the comment framework works. You can see the count, 3 comments. Just write hi over here. You go back, you can see 1 comment. The pluralization works as well. So it's as simple as this to enable comments using the built-in Django comments framework. Well, we have done a lot of interesting and serious stuff. Time for some fun. So I'm trying to add interesting or probably quirky random quote, random gossip functionality here. For that, I'm going to add a simple template simple modification to our linked list template. I'm just going all the way to the bottom, just before the end block. I'm going to add a block quote. It actually uses a variable called random quip, which we haven't defined yet, and truncating it to the first 140 characters. So to include anything into a generic view, you need to override something called the get context data. For that, I'm going to use a mixin. So some of you are really excited to learn about mixins, but we won't cover them in this tutorial. This is just the fun part of the tutorial. We'll cover them in the next part. But for this particular functionality, I'm going to use random gossip mixin. I'm just going to go to views for that. I'm going to import the built-in comment object, and I'm going to declare a mixin. So this would be used in the list view, so I'm just going to declare it above that. I'm going to use this mixin as its base class, one of the base classes. And that's it. So let's refresh this page. So as you can see, there's a random comment which comes at the bottom. As you refresh the page, it keeps changing it. So with that, we come to the end of this particular edition of the tutorial. In the next part, I hope to cover how we can do voting, and with Ajax, by simply clicking on a button, we can actually vote for a particular article. We'll talk about writing our own mixins, how mixins work, how we can show the voted status, and we discussed ranking algorithms that determine how a hot or a new article comes to the top, a highly voted article comes to the top, and so on and so forth. Thanks a lot for watching this. Do let me know your comments and feedbacks. I'd be happy to read them and reply to them. Thank you very much.